We're on the floor of PDAC 2024. I'm joined with Dan Blondal from Nano One Materials. How are you today?
Great, Tracy. It's fantastic to be here.
Normally I ask people what they're here for PDAC for, but with you, I want to start with your partnership with Sumitomo. Congratulations, and how is that going?
Look, Sumitomo Metal Mining is really a fantastic Class 1 partner. The Japanese do take a while to get across the line, but once they're in the fold, they're dedicated, they're responsive, they're involved, and they're just an absolutely tremendous partner to have in the space with a deep knowledge in cathode manufacturing and technology. Of course, having been a manufacturer and provider of NCA for all of Tesla's original batteries through Panasonic, obviously they have a very deep field in the space, and they're a 450-year-old company out of Japan. What more could you ask for?
Well, they're obviously investing in your team building talent and, of course, your technology. I read we've got 40 patents and another 50 plus being queued.
Yes, patents keep coming out. We keep innovating. I think maybe when we interviewed long ago, patents are innovating. Continuous innovation is very much part of a technology company's kind of bloodstream. What keeps us going. We keep adding more IP to the portfolio, and obviously that increases shareholder value. It increases our leverage and our position with not only with our partners but with potential customers as well.
We've done a lot of interviews about government to business, but we don't really have to have the discussion with you because government is already invested in Nano One. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, we've had a tremendous amount of support from government, from SDTC, which is Sustainable Development Technology Canada. We're still drawing down on the last the last project we have with them, which we announced about a year ago, actually. And so we're into that. We're kind of into the second phase of that, and there's a few more to go. So it's been really supportive. All in all, probably in the tune of $25 million. Not all drawn down, but that's what the government has poured into us so far. And we're also actively working with the Canadian government and the Quebec government to facilitate the next stage of our growth. Our pilot plant in Candiac is going very well. We've got it to the pilot stage where we've got ton scale materials going out to potential customers, looking for the government to help support that initiative. And then the next stage after that, which is their first commercial plant in the Canadian diaspora. That's where we'd like to have it, right here in Canada, supporting not only the U.S. economy, the Canadian economy, but also feeding out into some potential European or Indo-Asian Pacific type of potential customers.
We've been asking CEOs in our interviews to give investors 3 competitive reasons why they should put Nano One Materials at the top of their due diligence list. What would you say today, Dan? How would you prioritize your competitive company strengths?
I would say we are sitting right in the sweet spot with the only LFP production facility in North America, in a market that is only just very much at its beginning. We have the most experienced team, and we have the only production facility, LFP production facility outside of Asia. So we're very well positioned to address a market that has reached 60 to 70% market share in China and is virtually nil in North America and Europe. So I think that's probably the first reason. The second reason is that our technology, our one-pot process, enables lower cost, less complexity, less GHG emissions. We completely eliminate all of the water waste and all the sulfate waste that the rest of the industry is saddled with. And by eliminating sulfate and using nickel metal or iron metal as our input materials, we're able to decouple from the stranglehold that China has on nickel sulfate and iron sulfate, for instance. So there's a strategic element. There's obviously a competitive element. We drive down cost and complexity, and there's a very strong environmental element to it. So that's kind of the value proposition that we bring to the table. And then last of all, our expansion strategy. So we are looking to use the pilot plant we have in Quebec to define the the turnkey plant that will become the source of our expansion. That turnkey plant will be designed for 12,000, 15,000 tons a year, kind of in that range. It'll have we'll put a wrapper around that with the patents, the intellectual property, the know-how, the engineering plans, the flow sheets, and then on top of that, key pieces of equipment. That then becomes something that we can modularize around the world, not only here in Canada, Central Canada, Quebec, but also in the US, in the Indo-Pacific region, in Europe. That's really how we expand this technology and get it into many, many different hands. So those are really the three key elements, is that we're well positioned to address an existing market. We have a very compelling value proposition that addresses security, cost, and environment. And then lastly, we have an expansion strategy that lets us kind of really go after the whole world to change how they make battery materials.
You're hard to get an interview with. Everybody wants to talk to you. So I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you, what is your vision for 2024? What are some of the key highlights that you're striving for?
So for those of us kind of who know the story, maybe don't, we have a pilot plant in Quebec, and we're using that to sample out materials for validation with potential off-takers, looking to have visibility and sightlines on offtake and by in 2024 and into 2025 as well. We're going to be growing our customer base. So that's the first two key things. Last year we completed the pre-feasibility study on our future expansion plans. And we're right now midway through a feasibility study, which will be complete by mid-year. That will give us better CapEx and OpEx sightlines on the plant, and actually enables us to have kind of a bankable approach towards lenders on, project lenders and project financiers. And then the other key component is teeing up all of the supply. Where's the lithium and the iron and the phosphorus going to come from? So we're putting all those procurement strategies in place, lining up our sources of those materials for the future expansion. So you can expect news, towards all of that in the coming year. You can expect news, we believe, on additional support from both the federal and the provincial level in the initiatives we have, and really sort of not only a pan-Canadian, but I think very much a North American strategic effort towards bringing LFP to market to address the needs not only in industrial storage, but also in really the mass market electric vehicle space.
Well, again, congratulations on your partnership with Sumitomo, and as always, it's a real pleasure.
Thank you, Tracy. Pleasure is mine as well. Thank you.